because you are that, you are capable, you are gifted, and you are so unique. All of the things that you may hate about yourself are your strengths. It's okay to be soft. It's okay to be opinionated. It's okay to be different. And it's so okay to just be you. The world awaits to receive you.
Bitch, I'm back. I'm popular the man. Bitch, I'm back. I'm popular the man.
You already know. Guess who's back?
Bitch, I'm back. I'm popular the man.
Yes. You're here with Grace Levi on Uncensored Enlightenment Talk. And yes, I have a great live for you. I want to say, first and foremost, I apologize for yesterday. Something happened. It was like this weird thunderstorm that happened right in our area, but it was expected because I stay informed and they were saying that some things may happen. And it was so crazy because as soon as I got the live set up, I put the headphones on my ears. I said, okay, it'll be crazy if the power go off. And then like 2 seconds later, boom, it was the power went off. So that's why it went on because I actually just hit the live button and everything just went down. So I do apologize for yesterday, guys. And the power didn't come on till like 10:30 this morning. So what I say? What I done told y'all? Because I'm not here to play. I'm here to slay. I hope y'all can hear it. Oh,
Bitch, I'm back.
wait. Let's do it one more time. Because y'all ain't got no behavior. Let's go.
Bitch, I'm back. I'm popular the man.
All right, let me stop. I'll play it to the ground. All right, so today we're going to be talking about a topic that everybody's been talking about. And here it goes. Right here, you're going to see these two beautiful women on the screen. And today we're going to be doing Tasha K, Miss TKO versus Cardi B. So, what we do know is that these women continue to rival each other. And I think, in my opinion, someone can't let go of a grudge. And we need to figure out what is the foundation of this grudge and how it was applicable in law. Okay. Because one of the things that I have noticed in the Black community and all over YouTube is that one, everybody hates Tasha K. Everybody hates her. If it's a time where you could go in and talk trash about her, make videos monetize off of her, that's what they're gonna do. But when it comes to actually getting down to the nitty gritty and the facts and just evaluating things from a uncensored enlightenment talk perspective, and you know what I like to do, I like to research law. So we're gonna go over cases over here, especially the ones that the Black community is interested in, because I think this is a time that's gonna really educate the Black community as well. The ones who have the ears to listen, yes, this is probably going to be a 2-hour live. Okay. What we have is the transcripts of the Cardi B versus Tasha K. These transcripts starts all the way back in 2019. Okay. We know this is 2023. Literally hundreds of pages of information and evidence. So we're going to have to break this down in series over the next couple of weeks. This first bit of information I'm going to share with you is actually the introductory proceedings and motion. So before we go into that, let's get educated. Let's get educated. You already know. Okay. So case processing and jurisdiction and how a case actually works. So we're going to break down a little bit about that. So the first thing you have is your initial appearance, no matter what type of case it is, criminal, civil, whatever. Then you have a proceeding such as arraignment. That arraignment is done when it comes to a criminal case, but when it comes to a civil case, what happens is actually the plaintiff and the defendant comes up and they start to present some of the information to the judge. And the first thing they ask is there some type of mediation that happened? Okay. So let's just keep that in mind. Once that goes on, then you have the actual evidence that starts to present. Before the evidence is present, if there's any motions that needs to be addressed, that's usually what the judge would address first before moving forward with the court proceedings. So what you're going to hear today is the actual motion for dismissal on the behalf of Cardi B from her lawyer by the name of Miss Matz. And we're going to evaluate her approach. Now, she's going to bring up some case law. I'm going to break it down to you how that makes sense. She's going to use word magic, as well as her and the judge is going to go back and forth trying to figure out why or what grounds that she can get Tasha K's first motion of, when she filed, it was a point where Tasha K had filed counterclaims against her. So that's what we're going to go into today. Okay. So before we go into the counterclaims, what we're going to do is actually get us up to par, kind of what's going on with these two individuals right now. Now, we're not going to talk about the exposure of Cardi B husband allegedly in another woman, because that is new developments and I'm still listening and I don't want to just talk out of terms, but all of that is really wild on the YouTube streets right now. But let's just get into this. Just as of last week, where she was talking about is Tasha K about to get sued by Cardi B. The main issue here that I see is that this young lady does not want not only Tasha K, but many individuals to keep her name out their mouth, which is virtually impossible because she's a celebrity. So let's just get into this. This was Thursday. Tasha K is about to get sued by Cardi B again, which I don't think this is the truth, but this is what tabloids actually put out. So, okay, so don't write a check that your mouth or your butt can't cash was a person. It would be a YouTuber named Tasha K. This is according to the article. Okay, why? Because even after a long battle with Cardi B, that resulted in her having to pay the rapper over $4 million. She still hasn't learned to keep her mouth shut. And they go on to explain on Wednesday, Tasha was caught red-handed once again speaking on Cardi B's name, giving her commentary on behaviors of Migos rapper Takeoff Depp. Now, my thing is, first and foremost, this is a free country. It's called freedom of speech. And this is what really troubles me about this situation and why I'm kind of slanted over to Tasha K side, because you can't be a celebrity and think that no one is going to talk about you or talk about incidents that surround you. So this right here is just basically, I believe, Tasha K making her commentary on Migos the rappers Takeoff Depp, and actual response to Cardi B around that time. So after posting the video of her giving her 2 cents, this is Cardi B, about the now viral of submarine fiasco, and that's something we probably talk about tomorrow. I'm not really into psyops, in my opinion, but with that goes to say, she made a specific comment about a billionaire's son that is partying and living his best life while allegedly they were looking for the submarine. Now, I can respect that, because that is a little bit weird. But at the end of the day, if you can say what you want to say about somebody and their behavior, someone else can say what they want to say about you. Now, what we're going to establish today, the most important things that we're going to establish today, the do's and the don'ts for the YouTube content creators. As I mentioned in many, many lives, once there's a case, it says precedents. And this precedents is precedents. And this precedents is basically the grounds for another lawsuit to take place. And the only way they do that is by evaluating the present case or the past cases related to the subject matter. So YouTube content creators that like to gossip, run your mouth, that's getting ready for them lawsuits to hit that ass, because that's all they doing now. As I said, that's what was going to happen. All they're going to do is use this as precedent to come after all of you guys. And that's what's been happening. Back to back. Cease and desist and all of this nonsense. So going into some of the stuff today is going to highlight why Tasha K, excuse me, why Tasha K counterclaim actually was dismissed. You're going to need to know what is libel and some of the things that you actually can say about celebrities. Okay, this is going to be a learning moment for all you. But like I said, what I don't respect is the fact that this young lady believes that no one can talk about her. So today we're going to be talking about it, specifically talking about her displeasure. As we said, this was Tasha K making her commentary on her, and now Tasha K got another beef that's that's kind of like flaring up. That's kind of controversial. So I'm gonna stay out of that till I figure out exactly what's going on. Because me, I don't like to talk about things when they're in the midst of stuff. I like to talk about things when they're in their climax, almost resolved, so we can evaluate the whole thing. I don't have time to be making lives every 5 minutes about somebody said this, somebody said that. Now, what we're gonna bring up now is actually the transcripts. Now, I'm gonna just let y'all know literally the read is 1 hour and 46 minutes. I have a natural reader that I use. I'm actually going to get a subscription after this so we could get a better voice. So if y'all don't like to hear computer voices, then y'all don't want to hear this. It's the best voice that I could pick out for this. I refuse to read all of this. I just did another live. I've been working all day, but we're going to be here for 2 hours. So you just bear with the process. And I believe when I do the next one, I'm gonna have a different voice because I'm gonna still let them read it because it's a lot of pages, but I wanted to move through a little bit smoothly. Okay. It's gonna be another voice. So y'all just gonna have to deal with that for right now. I just want to give y'all a heads up. Also, we're gonna get into some of the allegations that Tasha K made in her counterclaim that actually involved a friend of Cardi B. Yeah, we taking it all the way back, all the way back. Let me get myself on the screen. I'm gonna make this small, but I can make it big for y'all. I want y'all to actually see that this is actually a copy of the transcripts that are uploaded here. This is the case number, and this is the file date. This is actually when it took place. So this was 12/10/2019. We got a long way to go, people, to the ones that really want to know what's going on and what happened. Because according to Tasha K, she says specifically that there was some information that was held from the general public, some evidence that was not actually brought in on the case, and we need to know why and what type of evidence that is. So I want y'all to see what we're going to be actually getting read to us, and we're going to bring in Cardi B ex-friend Schemo, okay, because that's who is referred in one of the allegations here, and why the alleged counterclaim wasn't taken as validity from kind of like a legal research perspective. Just know that this information is for educational and research purposes only. Okay, entertainment purposes only. I am not a lawyer, but I am a legal nurse in research, and I'm certified. I love to actually do this. I love to read the law. I mean, I don't love the law, but I just need to know how to maneuver. I just need to know how to maneuver. I ain't stupid. Okay. So this is what we're going to be reading. So before we bring that on the screen, let me just get that off the screen real quick. And we're just going to go to what we're going to be expecting to go over the life of this case. Okay. Now, one of the things we're going to not go over is jury selection. We'll probably go into opening statements, maybe revisit that, but not right now. And we're going to go into the presentation of evidence and testimony and witnesses. We're definitely going to go into that, not tonight, but in future broadcasts. We're going to also go into the jury instructions. That is something that's very important because the way the judge put his phrasing will definitely govern the mindset of the jurors, okay? Especially after a long ass trial like this. I wonder if they got paid, because that's a whole lot of years. That's a whole lot. Because they ain't switch up jurors. These were the same jurors that was coming. They was probably very entertained. But what that goes to say, they get special instructions from the judge, and that helps govern the outcome. So we want to see how the judge phrased those special instructions. We're going to make our way through the trial, as well as see what type of information was exchanged between the plaintiff and defendant. So that's a review of the discovery. Okay, and the last part we're going to go into within this series is actual Tasha K appeal to Supreme Court and why it was denied allegedly. Just know that all this information for information and educational purposes only. I'm not an expert, but we're here for. Hey, how are you, Miss Perry? Good luck. Yeah, collecting. Yeah, I know. It's a lot of information. Girl. I gotta build myself up. But I'm interested. So that's what's gonna keep us here. Hey, I'm interested. So let's just add this to the stream. And I'm gonna make it smaller so y'all can start to see my reaction to, I'm gonna react and stop it. And just bear with me. I'm gonna make sure that this reader right here don't read these numbers because that's what end up happening. So this is Monday afternoon session, October 7th, 2019. Let's get it.
PROCEDINGS Courtroom Security Officer. All rise. United States District Court for the Northern District of Georgia, Atlanta Division, is now in session. The Honorable Judge William M. Ray, 2, presiding. The court. Thank you, ma'am. Y'all can be seated. All right. So we're here on the motion to dismiss counterclaim filed by the defendants. The motion itself was filed by the plaintiff.
Now, your plaintiff is Tasha K. Okay, so just know who's exchanging information right now, who they're talking about. The court is going to say the court. That's the court, and that's the judge. Okay, and it's going to say Miss Matz. That's Cardi B representation. What I want you to keep in mind is throughout this dismissal process of what they're trying to get dismissed, Tasha K lawyer can interject. Because you saw how we saw in the YSL case that even during the motions in the beginning where they were trying to get the expert witness out, he was like, I object, Your Honor. I object, Your Honor. So I'm going to highlight some stuff just from my perspective because I kind of went through this at first so I could get an idea. And I really think there should have been a little bit more objections, but let's just get to it.
The court. Thank you, ma'am. Y'all can be seated. All right. So we're here on the motion to dismiss counterclaim filed by the defendants. The motion itself was filed by the plaintiff. So ready to proceed? The court. Thank you, ma'am. Y'all can be seated.
Hold on, y'all. Right. Sorry.
MS Matz. Yes, Your Honor. Absolutely. Would it be okay if I stand up here, Your Honor? The court. Yes. MS Matz. Thank you. I am from New York. So I just want to make sure I'm following local rules. Good afternoon, Your Honor, and may it please the court. The essence of our motion is that the defendant, Kibi, has failed to state each of the causes of action that she has alleged against my client. The first cause of action she's alleged against my client is slander per se. The main issues with her pleading are that she has not sufficiently pled any words that are actually slander per se or that would be.
All right, let's just stop here. What she specifically said is that the cause of action for her actual rebuttal is not stated in her claim. And also what she's highlighting here is that what she's using as slander is not considered slander. And she's going to highlight some cases. Okay, so I just want to kind of interject because I know it sounded like a computer a little bit. People probably can't follow, but I'm going to put it in plain text for you. So this is the initial matter as she goes on.
As an initial matter, the pleading does not actually satisfy the Rule 8 standard. MS. Kibi has failed to allege the exact words that my client used and oftentimes is paraphrasing in a very conclusory manner, which fails to meet the standard set out in Twombly.
So what she's saying, they spelled the word, is conclusionary matter, which means that basically she's saying she said something like this. And what's needed in court is specifically what she said. And then you have to bring the proof of evidence that she said this. And then the last part is to prove the damages. So that's what Cardi B was doing on her side. And this is what Tasha K was supposed to be doing on her side pertaining to this counterclaim, this motion. Okay. So this is what she's saying. She doesn't satisfy the standard Rule 8.
Okay. As an initial matter.
So this is the court. This is the court response.
But more importantly than that, even the court. What about the comment? What about the statement that she called the defendants? I guess the defendant is Latasha a woman.
So one of the things that Cardi B said, is that even a woman? So Tasha K brought that up allegedly in her counterclaim, saying that this was one of the forms of defamation. And this is how they're going to go in and counterclaim. Miss Eason, my lover, I think that is Tasha K's lawyer. And what they asked right here, the court asks, is Latasha a woman? Because that was one of the things that she was saying was Cardi B saying against Tasha K. I'm laughing because her lawyer responds and says,
MS is Maleva. Yes, she is, Your Honor. The court, what did she call Latasha Kibi? A liar? What about that? That seems pretty specific.
so that is the
MS
next
Max,
claim.
well,
Okay. Tasha K next claim is that you called me a liar, which is defamation for me being a content creator. So let's listen, guys, because actually Miss Matz dissects this actual counterclaim with case law and what is actual defamation stands for in the eyes of the court. Not me and you, but the court. Let's listen.
MS Max, well, I don't think that's so in the context of those statements were clearly opinion. So I think that would go to the point of slander per se, that's to professional reputation, or at least that's what the defendant has argued. But the law is very clear that it can't be slander per se or a statement about somebody's reputation that's actionable if it's about a specific incident as opposed to generally.
So what she's saying, just because somebody says this about you, that you're a liar, it is general. It's just a feeling like she's a liar. It is not totally being considered defamation because Cardi B didn't follow up, or allegedly it wasn't presented to the court that specifically what Cardi B said. If Cardi B said something like, oh, she's a liar because she lied about this, she lied about this, she lied about that. Now she's bringing up specific incidents where Miss Kibi would have said something, and then that can be used as defamation. There's a difference between someone's opinion and defamation. So y'all, let's pay attention to what the court is saying. So when you talk, you're going to be using your opinion and not getting caught in defamation. Okay?
But the law is very clear that it can't be slander per se or a statement about somebody's reputation that's actionable if it's about a specific incident as opposed to generally. In all the statements they've actually alleged, if you look at what they pled in their complaint, which is actually a little different than what they argued in their motion, well, what they alleged in their complaint is that my client made statements about a particular instance, that the sources that she had about my client were illegitimate, and that she made up stories about my client.
Okay, so basically what she's saying is that what their statements, what they're arguing in court right now in front of the court in a word, in detail, is that, hey, the source of this information is coming from allegations where Cardi B is saying that their client is illegitimate because of the stories and the resources that she get it from. This is a Cardi B statement. But the problem is, what she's going to highlight is that it's not written in the complaint and or the rebuttal. And that was one of the main defects that I kept hearing when I was listening to Tasha K express herself about her case, is that some of the things were not actually written properly in the filings of what she came to find out from the Black lawyer. And that's highlighting it right here. You have to put down exactly what you're going to represent in the court. That's just what the way the court wants everything on record. So if you're going to say it in the filing, you have to say it on the record. You can't come with a filing with one angle and then be like, no, I'm changing it to this. Okay?
And the law says that when a person is commenting on a particular instance, that is not enough to be actionable to impugn someone's character generally, and that it can't be actionable slander per se. One of the cases that we cited on this particular subject is the Lucas v. Cranshaw, talks about the single instance versus not single instance. And the law says that when you charge plaintiff with a single instance of being negligent or not doing something right, that doesn't actually imply that the person is generally unfit in their profession, so that can't actually be actionable.
So another reason why she's saying that this actual motion is not actionable, because allegedly Cardi B didn't go on a rant and kept saying the same thing over. If someone says it once, or whatever, or you can't prove that they said it more times, this was the thing as well. Where if in Tasha K complaint, her lawyer would have said, she said it numerous times on her platform on this date, this date, this date. This is why it's not actionable. Does it make sense?
And that's really the only ground that they have argued is slander per se. In their opposition, they essentially conceded that there weren't any statements that qualified under either of the other two exceptions. And, part of the issue here is that because they didn't allege the specific statements that were made, they in the opposition have tried to twist the facts. For example, in the opposition they argued that those statements were general by saying that she made up stories generally, but the pleading actually says she made up stories about plaintiff. 1, 2, 3, 4,
All right.
5. The other issue, though, however, is that the she also hasn't even if the court believed that that could fit into the slander per se exception, there's other reasons why that should be dismissed. First and foremost, Ms. Kibi has not actually alleged any facts to support actual malice, which is required here.
So that's the next issue. To establish defamation, you have to also establish malice in the state of Georgia. So she had to prove that Cardi B was going on a campaign against her as well with her motion.
I don't think that there's any dispute that she is at the very least the court. Well, that seems a little far-fetched to argue that, if we assume that calling someone a liar is libel per se, that there's not malice involved in that. I mean Ms. Matz, wealthy court, it seems to be inherent in the use of the term.
So now this is the court responding to Ms. Matt's basically what she's saying, how it's insufficient. I gave you the breakdown of why she's saying it's insufficient and not actionable. And the judge is actually going back and forth with her. And honestly, this is the time where Tasha K lawyer should have been coming in and saying, I object, or this is not malice, instead of just the court and Ms. Matz going back and forth trying to establish what the law is. This is what you see going on. So this highlights to me that someone is not playing in court right now. They're just watching. And I think that is Tasha K lawyers right now.
Matz, wealthy court, it seems to be inherent in the use of the term. I mean, when you call someone a liar, that's one of the lawyers generally in court follow the rule, at least here, that we don't call other lawyers liars, even when they're lying. We dance around it. We say they're not being, completely accurate about the facts. But, generally speaking, when you call someone a liar, and the reason why we dance around it here is because it's not polite. It's generally thought to be unprofessional to use that term. Sometimes it's unavoidable, I suppose, and you see it more often used by a lawyer in a closing statement as opposed to earlier in a trial. But it just seems like that's inherent when you call someone a liar, that is so offensive, though it could be true clearly, but that it's malicious. And here the defendant's claim is that it's not true, that the plaintiff knows it's not true, and so if that's true, if it's not true and the plaintiff knows it's not true, how could it not be malicious?
So this is the judge. This is the judge. The judge is arguing back and forth with actually Cardi B lawyer and saying, hey, how can you say it's not malicious when it basically is malicious when someone is making that claim against a person and they're saying that person is saying is not true on the behalf of Tasha K side. So this is what Tasha K lawyer should have been arguing.
Ms. Max, well, I don't think that they've actually alleged facts to support what Your Honor just said, and I will say the court, you are aware that the 11th Circuit pleading standard generally gives parties, when an allegation is made that a pleading is not specific.
So this is what he was saying. And that is what Tasha K lawyer should have been saying. The lawyer said, the court said, you are aware that the 11th Circuit pleading standard generally gives parties when an allegation is made that the pleading is not specific, usually giving them an opportunity to refrain from argument. So when you're making that's what he's saying. When you're making your claim, you don't have to put forth arguments in it, but you can put key elements within that argument. And what Ms. Moss was saying, that wasn't her initial points in her filing. But as the judge said, I'm arguing with you that it doesn't have to be specifically like that. They can always add arguments to it. But Tasha K lawyers didn't say anything.
Ms. Matz, yes, absolutely. However, here in the opposition the defendant hasn't actually stated any ability to do so or argue that there are additional facts that they would plead to cure this error. Their opposition actually didn't talk about it at all, and the pleading standard set forth in Twombly, which governs all federal pleading standards, is that there have to be facts alleged to support the legal conclusion element. And here, with respect to actual malice, that's all they did. And
so, as they said, as I said, she didn't present any facts of how, where, and this is one of her arguments.
And with respect, Your Honor, I do think that, the statements that they have pled, they didn't actually plead that she called her a liar using that term. They said that she, Kiwi, makes up stories about plaintiff and that she, doesn't have legitimate sources giving her information. And, many of those statements and many of the cases we've cited in our brief show that statements taken to that have actually been held to be non-actionable opinion.
So what she's saying is basically what the statement that she brought into court didn't match exactly what they're alleging that Cardi B said. So this is why it's non-actionable. Okay. So what they go into here is a little bit of basically a similar case law that happens, and it highlights similarities here where the plaintiff was suing someone who made certain statements on the internet and had been blogging, and some of these statements were akin to that as well. So you're giving some case law here. Let's get into it. To the ones that's getting sued right now, you better take note of these case laws. Don't think that this live ain't important. If it ain't important for the general public who ain't got attention span, it better be important to the damn content creators out here that's getting sued. You better bring these case laws to your damn lawyers. Like, baby, you better look at this and figure out how I can speak free. Here we go.
I believe that statement. That was Swanson Towing v. Recovery.
Case law.
A Georgia state case.
Case law.
There's also the Cottrell case, which,
I
think, shares a lot of similarities here because the plaintiff was suing someone who made certain statements on the internet and had been blogging. And some of the statements were akin to that as well. They said, the blogger, at that point said they criticized and said, his runs weren't even real, saying the court, I'm sorry. His what wasn't? The
court was trying to clarify what she's talking about. And she's just talking about basically what the case talks about, where is this pastor, an evangelicus that says he does all this jogging, and someone called him a liar, and then that actually in part the claim calling him a liar actually hurt his reputation within the industry. So she's saying that is remarkably similar, and they also call him not trustworthy. The court held that was an opinion statement in that case, so she's bringing that up, and that's how case law works. Okay, you can't just go in there and say this is how I feel, how law should work, and this, that, and the third. Let's learn how it really works. They say he seemed like a scam artist. Then the court held that to be okay. So when you call somebody a scam artist, there are some type of specific attributes to scam artists and other examples that you can use. But when you just say somebody's a liar, I mean, you can use examples, but it's very general. So this is what she's saying. But the court now is still arguing with her and not Tasha K lawyer.
Then the court held that to be the court. Well, so I guess my point, one is we're at a motion to dismiss phase and not at a summary judgment phase, but those things are things that are not terms of art. What is the definition of crook? I don't know. You may ask 10 different people and get 10 different explanations. And granted, you clarified that you don't believe that the term liar was used, but that's not a term of art as much. I mean, that is, you either tell the truth or you don't. But scam artist, crook, I don't know what those terms necessarily mean. It really depends on the context. Ms. Matz, well, I do think that there's ample authority given the statements that she actually made. I think the only place I saw in the pleading that used the word lie was where she said the allegation, Kiwi's allegation, is that my client told many other lies, actually calling my client a liar. That's the only place I saw the word lie. So basically what she's saying is that shutting up ground and say, basically, I didn't call her a general liar. I call her a liar about my situation. And that can't be considered defamation because I'm not attacking every single thing that Tasha K has done. Okay? Listen, guys, some words you can use.
use like liar, untruth. But when you guys go in as content creators and be like, this person said this, that, and the third specifically, and you have no evidence, that's where defamation comes in. Okay, so you need to learn how to use more general terms because it's going to help you guys survive out here in these YouTube streets before they take all your checks.
You know, the other statements about saying that she's making up stories about her or that her claims were illegitimate, you know, or that her sources about plaintiff are illegitimate, again, that gets back to 1. Those are also terms that are akin to the types of things that are opinion or rhetorical hyperbole. You know, saying a source is not legitimate, you know, it's kind of like calling someone.
So y'all better figure out what an opinion is or a rhetorical hyperbole. Rhetorical hyperbole. If you don't know what that is, y'all better get a list of them content creators because that's going to help y'all be able to talk a little bit freely. But if y'all keep on saying what people really are and what they really are not, and they have cases set up like that, like this, y'all going to be a shit's creek without a paddle.
Not legitimate, you know. It's kind of like calling someone a crook or calling them not trustworthy. You don't know exactly what that means, which does render an opinion because for a statement to be defamatory, the speaker has to be saying I am saying a fact about this other person and not describing what they believe their opinion is.
You see?
Not using types of rhetorical hyperbole because the law doesn't want to limit speech like that. And, you know, I would say that I also think that the statements they're actually pleading, again, get back to this idea of if you are trying to allege slander per se, you have to show that the statements that were made affected the reputation generally, right?
Okay, so this is the next part where she's going to get the next actionable cause. You have to show where this actual statement actually affect your business. You can't just say it affect my business. I'm losing subscribers. I'm losing people. No, you have to show the proof where from the day that she said this to this, you have lost subscribers and things like that. And I think Tasha K, I hope when she went into actual bringing some evidence, that should have been inside of her actual filings. I know it was probably happening at the time, but she could have showed some type of record where what she's saying is causing me to lose some subscribers. I thought she lost like a 1,000. Well, I don't know. She lost a good amount, 100,000 subscribers at that time. So her lawyer did not put any actual facts behind it, allegedly. And if she did, and this lawyer in the court is going back and forth, which is Cardi B lawyer, Tasha K lawyer is very quiet, very quiet.
The exact statements aren't pled in here, and we're not conceding that any of them were made. But, you know, to the extent that my client is alleged to have made certain statements, the statements she is alleged to have made were only about this one instance, and that doesn't affect the character in the way that slander per se wants to protect. The court, I want to jump past the original argument you made that this is only directed to this incident and not generally making up, for example, making up stories. But I think you would probably agree that if someone accused a lawyer of lying, that affects the lawyer's general reputation.
You see, the judge is trying to help sustain that, you know, like, okay, her argument, like, well, this is affecting Tasha K's reputation because if someone calls a lawyer a liar for one incident, it's going to generally stain their reputation. So, like I said, again, this is the courts going back and forth with Matt's and not actually the lawyer. And Ms. Matt's response is, well, that. And then the judge goes on. If the judge finds that the lawyer is in contempt because they lied to the court, my guess is that going to affect that lawyer's general reputation in the industry. You know, Judge X in the Southern District of New York found this lawyer committing contempt by lying to the court. So that means maybe that they can't be used against the lawyer in another court pleading, but it certainly can be used against the lawyer from a marketing perspective. This is the court that's standing up. So I mean that's the problem I have. And we're also, you know, again, I'm looking past your argument. This is the judge. And well, dealing with that is due course related to whether or not the allegations that were made were general or specific as it relates to when she made up the story. So she's saying just because she was talking about this specific story, you can't say that it's not going to generally affect Tasha K's actual reputation. But as Cardi B lawyer brings up, she's not actually putting any actionable causes in her actual filing. I don't think when you call somebody a liar who is in the information business, which this blogger is in, I guess that can affect their overall reputation. Miss Matt. So that's actually a very interesting example. And now let me tell you this. Let me tell you, sometimes lawyers bring up cases inside the case and the judge don't even really know the case and they got to go research it and then rebuttal it back on the record because the judge may have went with it and it wasn't correct if they didn't have direct access right now. So Miss Matt, so that's actually a very interesting example. And one of the cases we cited actually kind of touched on this. I believe it actually was a lawyer. So she didn't say which specific case, but she's kind of just throwing something out there. And so that's a very fortitude metaphor you brought up. So she's like, that's great, Judge. That's great, Judge. You see what I'm saying? She's like, I see you trying to hit me. I appreciate that. As I'm looking for the name of it, I will find it. But the fact, see, she don't even know that case. She don't know what she does. She probably made it up allegedly. But the fact of the case were essentially that the statements that were made about the lawyer was that he hadn't shown up. Okay. And one of these issues the court was actually dealing with was, and the court construed the statement, the meaning, the lawyer, essentially didn't do his job. And that's what she's trying to communicate with Tasha, saying Tasha K is a liar. So, and the communication itself through because it was talked about the specific appearance versus the lawyer hasn't shown up in general to do his job, period. So hadn't shown up to do the appearance versus hadn't shown up to do the job. That's two different things. The court looked at that and said, well, if they were wrong, right, the statement itself was about one incident. Not the lawyer was generally incompetent or drew this distinction. So, I'm not going to say that, I would ever be, I would ever be want to be in a position that the honorable that your honor has just given. And certainly I can imagine situations where that could be in some effect. So basically what the judge did was make the lawyer realize that your argument is kind of insufficient, because if it was you on the other hand and someone called you a liar, that would greatly affect your marketing skills. So now let's go into what the court has to say, because it seems like the court was trying to sustain this. But at the end of the day, we knew it wasn't sustained. The argument you make is there is a distinction between plaintiffs saying she lied about me versus saying everybody knows that the blogger lies all the time. So this is now when Tasha K lawyers gets in. Let's see what she say.
MS is my lover.
MS lover.
And I do think
that's Elga.
MS is my lover. Yes. And I do think there's a distinction in a lot of the cases that we have cited to talk about that distinction, because the way at least the cases in Georgia have interpreted that is that one statement, even though, yes, of course the person is going to say, well, me being called a liar in this one instance, other people could believe I might be lying in other instances. That's absolutely something that person would claim. What the law is saying and what a lot of the cases are saying is, but that's not slander per se, because that person isn't saying that in all instances you're going to lie. That person isn't saying that, because you lied in this one instance, that you are lying everywhere else in their life. They're just saying you didn't tell the truth in this one instance. That's what the cases say. And I think that the allegations they've made are even more specific than, well, they're more specific than just saying she's a liar, right? And they were specific to the story that was told about my client. Any of the alleged statements were talking about that, and that's how they have alleged it. So I don't think that it can qualify for slander per se.
Hold on, that was actually Miss Imazola. This one.
MS is my lover.
Is Miss okay?
Yes.
Miss MS is my lover. Miss Lover. Let me correct that. That's not Tasha K lawyer. That's another Cardi B lawyers coming in. Okay, we got two talking, and we don't hear nothing from Helga yet. I thought that was Helga's first name. Excuse me. I told you this is a lot to go through. I was listening, but I couldn't listen to everything.
And, Just getting back to the actual malice case, you know, if someone knows they're not telling the truth, I can see where Your Honor is saying that that should be just kind of implied. But when you are a limited purpose public figure, the standard is higher. The standard of proof is higher, and the standard of pleading is higher. And, you know, courts don't typically, at least in the federal cases that we cited in our brief, don't typically presume actual malice. They want to see that because actual malice isn't just, you know, that you either
So
have-
what she's saying is basically is a higher standard of bar when you're a celebrity. So now she's saying that Tasha K is considered a celebrity in this, and you need to know it's a higher standard of bar than just saying someone said this about you. You have to bring some form of evidence, okay? So let's follow up. The court says, and how do you do that? And Miss Matt, so how are you going to bring this proof? So what they saying is, let's go to one Miss Matt saying, how is she supposed to bring this proof?
The court. And how do you do that, Ms. Matz? MS Matz, well, I think that there are sometimes I think you can show evidence that the person maybe made statements to someone else that they weren't sure it was true, which is actually how we pled it in the reverse. The court, statements.
So how you will prove is true, you can get a witness. And that's what they're saying. And we're going to talk about some another claim that Tasha K had made about threats and things like that, and why that kind of was overlooked as well because of the way that it was presented in the information that she had. Unless she had some physical evidence that this alleged friend, Mr. Schemo, had, you know, threatened her, because we're going to talk about that next. It's going to be hard for her to prove it. I'm kind of jumping the gun, but that's the next thing we're going to get into. Not just this first claim of defamation counterclaim that Tasha K did against Cardi B, and how basically Cardi B lawyers dissect the argument because of the filing that she made, inadequate filing. She didn't basically, you know, from what I'm saying, bring any proof, but we're still listening. So let's just keep it going.
MS Matz, no, maybe like I'll give you part of the example for the court. Well, you could do it with direct evidence. Direct evidence is that the plaintiff told someone else.
Direct.
I'm going to say this was not true, but she could also do it with circumstantial evidence. MS Matz, right, exactly. 1, 2, 3.
Now, circumstantial evidence still has to be proven, okay? And we're going to go into what circumstantial evidence they can use. It's either direct evidence or circumstantial evidence as well, which means, like, for instance, I've lost a lot of business. Where's that circumstantial evidence to support that? Well, I lost this amount of money in 3 months. I lost this amount of subscribers. That's considered circumstantial evidence, okay? Does that make sense? And direct evidence will be a witness, someone who have seen it, someone who's going to directly testify.
The court, and circumstantial evidence can be that it's that the plaintiff knows that what the blogger said is true. If the plaintiff knows what the blogger says is true but then goes out and says it's not true and she made it all up, you could infer actual malice by the plaintiff denying and saying that the defendant is lying about her just from that point, I would think. I mean, that's what circumstantial evidence I mean. That would probably be the strongest circumstantial evidence. But if it's true that the plaintiff is lying about her, because we've got multiple lies here. We've got the plaintiff lying, the defendant lying. MS Matz, yes, Your Honor.
She said, we got more. Hold up. He said, I mean, that's the circumstantial evidence here. But he said, but if it's true, the plaintiff is lying about her and you saying the defendant is lying about her. We got multiple people just lying at this point.
The court, if it's true what the defendant said about the plaintiff going out and denying it and saying she made it all up. I mean, jumping past the first argument about individual incident versus general, but, I mean, I would think that would show the malice right there.
So basically what she's saying, the court is trying to say that if Cardi B did show malice and by saying she's a liar, instead of addressing specifically what Tasha K said that she felt the way about, okay? So this is what she's saying. This is how the court is kind of still trying to defend Tasha K a little bit. I'm just keeping it real. He like, hey, it can't be considered malice because she never addressed the claims. you're still avoiding the actual claims that you're saying this person is lying about by calling her a liar. Y'all, it's both showing malice. The judge. This is how you can learn a lot, bloggers. And then Miss McKenzie.
You could argue, I suppose. But it doesn't really mean she has malice towards the defendant. She was just protecting herself, even if she was lying about protecting herself. But, you know, I mean MS. Mats.
Now this
right?
is Mats.
The court dash your argument about how you would. 1, 2, 3, 4. Prove malice. How you would have to plead malice eliminates the circumstantial evidence in that regard. If it's true what the blogger said about the plaintiff, then the plaintiff going out and saying the blogger made it up and lied when she did, sounds like to me that would allow the jury to reasonably infer that there was malice there. And the malice standard is the malice standard. The difference between public figure and non-public figure is that you have malice, right? Because if it's not a public figure, you don't have malice.
So hey, let's highlight that. In the case of Tasha K and Cardi B, because they're public figures, it made it a higher precedent or a higher way to that they had to prove their case, and that was in addition to malice. So maybe some of you bloggers could say, I'm not a public figure. I'm a blogger. I'm a news blogger. I'm not a public figure. Maybe that'll be the first thing that you want to. So you better take that off your page, because if you got public figure on your page and somebody sue you, they're gonna prove she says she a public figure. So just keep that in mind, guys. Y'all better just say y'all the news.
MS Mats, all you have to prove is falsity, correct? The court. So I think your best argument is the first one that you were latching onto. I'm not sure I can agree with you on that one, at least not at this stage, maybe later.
Oh, okay. So the court is basically saying that the first argument that you latched on to is probably more agreeable, which is that she didn't file the paperwork correctly. There's no evidence to prove, okay, as far as evidence. Okay, he said just stick to that. Stop trying to argue what malice is and just stick to where's the evidence. That's what he's saying right here. Because when they argue these things in the court case, they actually set precedents for another court case to use it. So if the judge doesn't catch this and these lawyers get through with some of this shit, other lawyers going to use it too. So it's a kind of dog eat dog world when it comes to it. And that's why the judges job is to allegedly keep control of the courts, because you have two opponents that's just going to say and do anything, and if you don't know the law, you're going to be asked out. Okay, let's go into it.
Matt, so the other issue here is that to the extent that, you know, our position is that this doesn't fall into slander per se, so if she wants it to be other actionable types of slander, there have to be special damages pled, and here that has not actually been pled.
So that's what she's going to stick to now. She's like, okay, the judge is getting on my butt about that. You know, I ain't about to define what slander is and this, that, and the third. But what we're going to do is go into the rule of rule FRC9 requires that calls out specific that it must be pled in particular. So basically the damages, special damage that is plea has to be highlighted, and that's a rule in Georgia. Now I don't know if it's in every state, you got to research it, but here, as I said it, you have to show your damages in your actual filing. This person did this, so this caused it to happen, and this is the evidence that I'm going to bring forth. And you may say and other, you know, but at least you have to put that in the pleading. I don't know if the judge gonna like and the other, but you know what I'm saying. You're gonna be like, I'm gonna look at the and other.
Rule FRCP9 requires that called out specifically that.
Oh, so listen.
So the other issue here is that to the extent that, you know, our position is that this doesn't fall into slander per se, so if she wants it to be other actionable types of slander, there have to be special damages pled, and here that has not actually been pled. Rule FRCP9 requires that called out specifically that it must be pled with particularity. Here there's the court dash just advertising because you said I was a liar and that kind of thing. MS Mats, I think there's probably issues of proof.
So now MS Mats like, well, I just think it's probably issue with proof. Let's go.
With that later, but that's not the issue here today. But, yeah, no, things like that aren't even enough. And, actually, the cases on this talk about how, A, you have to plead facts that show causation, right? Not just generally you did it and therefore I was harmed. There's a lot of reasons why people may or may not advertise or may not choose to watch the content that Kibi is putting out into the world. The court, but as soon as you made the allegation, I had 3 subscribers who cancelled. We see that all the time in the press when something negative comes out about a celebrity, everybody jumps on board to cancel their endorsement contracts. I don't think I don't know what the facts are here, so it may be nothing like that. But, I mean, that would be an example to me of special damages if Ford Motor Company and General Foods.
She's giving another example, but this is the judge. This is the judge. He's giving other examples of how it can negatively affect Tasha K. He was trying to help her a little bit. Let's hear what Ms. Matz got to say.
MS Matz, and if facts had been alleged along that line, I would probably be saying, at least for the purposes of a motion to dismiss, that the pleading standard, whether they can prove it, is a different issue, right? But had they actually alleged, yes, but that's not what they did here. What the defendant did here is just say I suffered damages, and some of that is advertisers generally. No names of who, no talking about a timing. We don't even actually know when the statements she's claiming my client made were made or when any of the alleged damage happened.
Let's just stop there, guys. So highlight this, content creators. If your lawyers don't know how to write up a motion and don't highlight these things, you lost already. And if the other lawyer highlights this and the judge is like, hey, run with it, this could be a problem. Okay. So she didn't even, as I said plenty of times, what is the damage? What did I just say? I lost these subscribers at this time once Cardi B made these statements, and her lawyer did not do that.
When the statements she's claiming my client made were made or when any of the alleged damage happened. If you look at paragraphs 220 and 226 of the counterclaim, it's just mimicking language. As a direct result of Cardi B's defamatory statements, Ms. Kibi's Instagram account was deleted several times. She lost thousands of subscribers, lost several third-party advertisers. There's no facts that said statement was made on X date, a third-party advertiser canceled on X date, or they said to me I'm canceling because of this or any of that. That's what's required here for this to...
So actually the other lawyer is bringing up what Tasha K lawyer is highlighting what... No, I have to apologize. Cardi B lawyer is highlighting what Tasha K lawyer should have did, and she didn't. Now, the other issue with damages itself.
The other issue is the actual damages themselves. If you look at the way she's pled her damages, she's just asking for $3 million, and the courts have been very clear that, first of all, for something to be a special damage, it must be something of material value, and you have to plead what that is.
Mm-hmm.
You have to say I lost $10,000 in advertising revenue, or, this is what my monthly income was, and then, they canceled and I know it was because of this and this is the amount of revenue I lost. The specificity requirement of pleading special damages does not allow you to go into court and just say these things happened, and I want $3 million. So that just hasn't been pled with specificity. The court, I'm just the nomenclature normally doesn't control, but in this case she titles her claim as slander per se from the very beginning under count 1. I agree that there doesn't appear to be any intent to try to show that there is special damages. If there is a valid slander per se claim, the presumed damages that Georgia law allows for slander per se, the $3 million would sort of fit because you could. I'm not saying that's a legitimate, reasonable thing to ask for, but it is an enlightened conscience standard at that point, right?
So basically what he's saying is that Tasha K should have put how much damages she had related to this situation, okay?
When you plead libel per se, how does the jury determine what the damages would be? MS Matz, so that depends also on whether or not you get punitive, and the court, forget about punitives for a minute, but just the general damages themselves. MS Matz, So, I think it depends on some of the egregiousness of the conduct. But you also have to keep in mind, Your Honor, and, if I may, that the damages are only presumed for categories 1 through 3 of slander per se, not for the 4th. So when you say the court, tell me the difference in those. MS Matz, So categories 1 through 3 of defamation are statements about. The first one is statements about that somebody has a loathsome disease. The second one is about their professional reputation, and that's the one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 that they could potentially be claiming. I am not recalling the third one off the top of my head, although I'll find it in a second. But the fourth one is the other one that they could be potentially trying to fit in, and that is other types of slanderous conduct plus special damages. That's why it
So
matters.
there they were just talking about the type of damages that you can go for. Okay. And when she talked about the special disease, when someone makes that claim about you, because people could go around and be like, you got HIV, you got HIV, and that could ruin your whole reputation, can end your marriage and all types of stuff. So that is why they have special defamation for health proxy information as well.
That's why it matters, because to the extent Your Honor agrees with us on our motion that this doesn't fit into slander per se for harm to someone's professional reputation because the statement was about a specific incident and not about reputation generally. That for them to still get into slander per se, they would have to show the other slanderous statements plus special damages. That's the other way to get into the slander per se, we'll call it. The court, and if we are not under that section, we are under number 2, then what do you tell the jury that is their guide for how much damages to award if they decide that they should award damages? MS Maths, well, some of it could be based on actual damages, and then, the other piece of it, I guess, is you have the general damages that you suffered. Then you have punitive. The court, the general damages standard would be in line.
So just know you're not going to only get the damages that the person suffered. You're going to get punitive damage because of the law being broken, and also court proceedings damages that you have to pay the court. So just know it gets a little bit steep when you guys are playing this court game talking about sue me. I don't want to hear that nonsense. Y'all not really ready for this, okay? A lot of people on the YouTube streets, y'all use a lot of y'all emotional integrity. I've noticed that, especially when y'all talk about these kinds of creators and artists like they know you, like they care about you. They really don't. They really don't. The only reason why I'm talking about this because I like court. I like to read court cases and figure out how people win, how they lose, because as Black people, we stay losing some way, somehow. So I need to figure out what is the damn problem, because, it's just something not right. And some of it is our approach and our emotional integrity. You see what I'm saying? I had somebody come in here and they literally just typed words that was like 1,000 words back to back. And we talk about how the National Enquirer dragged every celebrity. Oh, okay. Yeah, but that was all together. Every celebrity with over Yap stories. Okay, good luck with collecting that. Yeah. And, just certain things like, I don't know. Our approach be really harsh, but not you, boo. Not Miss Perry. I thought I had saw something, but all your words came together, and I didn't understand what was going on. I said maybe this person is upset, but no. I hope you know that I'm presenting unbiased information. As you know, what I show here usually is just the facts of how maybe I look at it from my perspective, and I always tell you is my opinion. So now let's continue going down. We're on page 21, baby. We on page 21 of 62. Okay. Yep. Okay. Let's go into it. I really want to kind of get into what else they talking about? The assault claim. Okay, so now this is where we're going to get into the damages for assault generally, allegedly, that was brought up related to Mr. Schemo. And we're going to show you who Mr. Schemo is. And it's funny how, you try to act like they didn't have no ties to each other, but is a reason why this wasn't able to be presented in court as well. The alleged, I have some of the alleged threats that Mr. Schemo had put on his page, but we're going to tell you why that wouldn't be submissible in court. So let's go. Okay. But we got it. We're going to just start to listening to what they're saying and how they bring this gentleman up. Once they bring his name up, we're going to show you who he is. And we're going to show you a little bit of video of Miss Cardi B and him together. That's her friend. And just my opinion on that.
The court, I'm just not aware of in Georgia any other standard for general damages but that. There may be another one, but I'm just thinking about the jury instructions I've given. and generally enlightened conscience is really the only thing it comes to. MS Maths, yes. The court. So can we talk a little bit about the assault and the intentional infliction claim?
All right, so that's the next claim. Now they're not ruling on nothing yet. I would hope towards the end of this he ruled, but if he didn't rule, we're gonna figure out on the next live what he's saying. We already know because he dismissed it, but we're gonna hear what they say. Hopefully, is in this one. So let's go. Now this is when they start going into
the court. So can we talk a little bit about the assault and the intentional infliction claim? MS Maths, yes. The court. Okay. You have a multitude of issues with those. I'm a little unclear. Is it Mr. Sciammo? Is that his name? The MS Maths. There's someone in the complaint called Sciammo.
Mr. Schemo. Okay, that's who we're gonna be talking about right now. But before we put him on the screen, we're gonna have to hear a word from our sponsors. Here we go. All right, we back on the screen. So what you see here is actually a video of Schemo featuring Young, Fantastic, Fast Car starring Cardi B. So Cardi B do know someone named Schemo. This is a real person that was there with her in her roots. We're not gonna play the video because I'm not about to get in trouble. I'm not about to get in trouble. We not, but we are going to kind of like, so you can see the picture of this gentleman, and this is going to be the same gentleman that actually goes on a vlogger's website. Look, Cardi B with her friend. So womanly, so womanly. You know, I love it. I love to see her acting like a damn fool. So this is Mr. Scheme. I'm trying to get a good glance of his face so you can see that this is going to be the same gentleman that actually goes on. I'm skipping through so you can see. There you go. There he go. This is going to be the same person that actually goes on a rival of Tasha K's, because everybody hates Tasha K. Everybody hates her for some apparent reason. Okay. And this actually content creator, Miss Sweet Pea Diaries. I know that this is another person that really despised Cardi B. She has did an interview with Schemo. So we're going to kind of get into that just a little bit. Just to take a break from the case. And we're going to kind of get into what they're alleging Mr. Schemo did. So let me just show you the evidence that I found. Okay. And this is Schemo Holmes, plaintiff's childhood friend and fellow blood gang member. So this is the contact information subjected to knowledge. Mr. Holmes has knowledge and information regarding plaintiff membership in the blood gang, a violent street gang. Additionally, Mr. Holmes has knowledge and information regarding the threats and intimidation Ms. Kiwi suffered at the hands of himself and the plaintiff. Mr. Holmes published a number of posts which contains threatening violence messages on the Instagram account that were clearly directed at Ms. Kiwi. Mr. Holmes has knowledge and information regarding plaintiff requesting someone find Miss Kibi and teach her a lesson. Now, this is where she should have had some proof. Now, we don't know what proof that Tasha K was able to bring in, but I hope she has some proof, you know, because this was one of the things. When we go into the evidence, we're going to go into some of the evidence the next live. But Mr. Holmes has knowledge about his private text conversation with plaintiffs pertaining to location and physically hurting Miss Kibi. In summary, Ms. Holmes has no knowledge and information pertaining to the plaintiff's allegation of defamation and Ms. Kibi claims of assault internationally intentionally conflicting of emotional distress and damages. Ms. Kibi sustains a direct result of plaintiff's initial conduct and malice action. So this is allegedly something somebody took off the Fallon at All Hip Hop. So on the plaintiff, this is another plaintiff right here, friend of 15 years. That's the contact information and subject and knowledge. And this is some of the things that if it's available, if this is real, it should be in the evidence that we're going to go through in later broadcasts. Mr. Houston has knowledge and information regarding plaintiff membership in the blood gang, plaintiff's sexual relationship with Schemo Holmes, That plaintiff contracted this from Schemo Homes, allegedly. This is what I'm reading. It's not me. Okay. That plaintiff herself, her body, that Schemo Holmes, the plaintiff, exchanged private text messages discussing their plan to locate Miss Kebe and cause her physical harm, and that Mr. Houston alert Miss Kebe about plaintiff plan to harm her. In summary, Mr. Houston has knowledge and information pertaining to Miss Kebe, affirmative defense, and Miss Kebe claims of assault, international intentional conflict of emotional distress, and the damage Miss Kebe sustained as a direct result of plaintiff and intentional conduct of malice action. Now, if this is any other subject that's in the filings that we're about to be talking about, then we do need to know that they need to be able to show that, okay? Show some of these texts that was going on between this person, and I'm going to show y'all him because this is one of Tasha K most rival bloggers that hate her. You know, so many people that hate her, I can't even keep count. This one is Miss Tasha K versus Cardi B exclusive Schemo Holmes interview. So we're not going to show the video, but we're going to just play a little bit in the background where you actually hear Mr. Schemo saying that, what is he saying? He said, put myself on the screen. Basically, that he didn't threaten Miss Kebe and basically playing innocent. Let's listen.
Coming up with all these different allegations, and it was like you said, I don't know you. You know what I'm saying? You don't know me. You don't know me. And then, well, I think what she was doing was just connecting imaginary dots. Okay, he's gang related, she's gang related. She's probably started doing a little research about how certain things go down in the streets and this and that.
So let's just stop. Y'all see how I showed you? First and foremost, there's no imaginary dots. There's no imaginary dots. We already showed you specifically them in a rap video together. Okay, so there's no imaginary dots when it comes to this particular case. Okay, hold on. Let me just, because I know the internet still getting itself back together. And yeah, there's no imaginary dots. That's him. And I showed you Missy where she throw up her middle finger and where she at? Where's she at? Coming up in there for a second. I'm trying to find Missy. She came in there for like a hot second. She really wasn't messing with him too much, was she? There she go. That's what she's saying to that's what she's saying to me and Tasha K. F you. You know, because that's how she feel about the Black community. I really true believe that. But for him to say that there's no connections, I'm just showing you there's connections right there. Allegedly, they know each other. And what he's saying is that did she just pulling this out the bum of her butt? And then you have this blogger that actually brings the gentleman on without actually doing her research. Because for him to just say that, I would have been like, wait a minute. Did you just do a video? Then don't you got a video with the young lady? So let's play a little bit of his denial.
And the third, and it's like, listen, everybody don't be on that kind of time,
Right.
Like,
and that's old. Y'all old. That's y'all not kids anymore.
We're adults. You know what I'm saying? Like, so for you to just start like pushing these narratives are just really disgusting. Like,
it's really disgusting.
It's very disgusting, and you could get.
Okay, so we're gonna start right there because everybody hates Tasha K, so I'm not gonna really put that up there because that lady probably fucking copyright me acting all stupid. So let's see, can we get back to it? I think we gotta add the file again. Hold on, guys. My file disappeared, but I know where we at. Okay. All right, so let's get into the inflection of pain. I just wanted to show that how people could bring people on their blogs, but don't actually do real research, because this gentleman do know him. Just listening to that statement, he's a damn lie because he know her. And usually, gangs stick together. You know what I'm saying? And if he's a person that allegedly, has something to do with that, claim that what she had allegedly, and he gonna be like, just be an ignorant jigger and be like, well, they talking about me. She's talking about me. And ain't nobody bring your name up. If you want to sit there and be starting to claim that you got something, that's probably what it is. So as you read that blog up there that was brought to you by allhiphop.com, this was some of the things that was up there in the case. So we're going to go into the case as well, and we're going to see if that evidence was able to be submitted. So let's go.
The court. So can we talk a little bit about the assault and the intentional infliction claim? MS Maps, yes. The court. Okay. You have a multitude of issues with those. I'm a little unclear. Is it Mr. Sciammo? Is that his name? The MS Maps. There's someone in the complaint called Sciammo. The court. Okay. So Sciammo alleged, I think, that it's alleged that he posted violent messages making threats against plaintiff. So is your argument about the assault part that the plaintiff didn't make the threats, or that Mr. Sciammo's threats wouldn't be enough to constitute an assault even if the plaintiff had made the threats, or both? MS Maps, both.
So basically she's saying that one, if Mr. Schemo did make that threat on the internet, that's not enough to inflict intentional pain, especially if it's not repetitive, and also it's not going to constitute as assault under those terms. And so he's asking, which one are you arguing? Is it the assault part of it, or is the actual threats? And she's saying both.
The court. Okay. So let's talk about the second part. That's not enough. What is it that's alleged that Mr. Sciammo said or did? MS Maps, it's not. The only thing that's alleged is that he posted violent messages. There is no allegations about what the content of those messages were.
See?
When they were posted.
Nobody said, even showing it.
Sorry, how the defendant became aware of them.
Again, Miss Fallons, she not putting the evidence inside of damn Fallons. You need to know what type of court you in. Elga, didn't even hear you say anything this whole damn time. We've been on for almost 2 hours. Not a word. Not object, Your Honor, object. It is the damn Your Honor. The court is the judge. This is probably why the judge got aggravated with Tasha K lawyer, because he like, am I the fucking lawyer for you? Because I'm asking all the relevant questions and your ass is not. That's what I'm seeing here, possibly. Let's go. This is the court.
Were you going to the court? Let's say that there are more facts she can add about that he, Sciammo, posted statements like, I'm just making stuff up because I don't know what they are, either watch your back. Maybe that was one that I was told was in here somewhere. You're going to get it. Things like that. Would that be enough for we're talking about Sciammo here for there to be an assault claim against him? I know he's not sued here, but MS.Mats, right? I actually don't think that even would be enough if you look at some of the cases we cited about this issue of what's a reasonable apprehension of an immediate injury.
Now, what Miss Mats did was actually start bringing up some case laws again. And I think that Tasha K lawyer should have been doing some case law and say, hold up. Your case law says that injury don't consist of somebody physically not touching you. But I have a case right here that says that infliction of assault can be deemed assault under these terms. There are so many different thousands and thousands of cases. This is how you argue. It's like a fight in a court with words. And as you can see, Tasha K lawyers is quiet, remarkably quiet. And that's why I just feel funny about her lawyers, because they not only the Fallons was messed up, you literally, I don't hear object, Your Honor. I don't hear none of that. They be fighting in the court. I like that part. Objection. I'll be objecting. I'll be objecting for they, hold on, wait. Sorry, I'll be objecting for their asses. I'll be like, object, girl, object, go ahead. I'll be in real court and they be looking at me like, bitch, did you about to give some damn legal advice? The court, they be looking at me. I'll be like, I said, no law. You better plead no law. The other person look at me, the lawyer look at me. I'll be like, I didn't say that. Let me shut up.
I actually don't think that even would be enough if you look at some of the cases we cited about this issue of what's a reasonable apprehension of an immediate injury. So one of the cases on Johnson v. State.
Case law.
Actually, first of all, there was physical presence in this case that I'm talking about, Johnson v. State, which there is not here, right? These are allegedly posted on the internet. And in that there was a crowd of people, and this gentleman walked kind of towards the car. I think it was a picket line or something.
So what she's using is this story as a parallel story to say how this guy wasn't basically deemed assaulting someone because he went to somebody's car and he was like, I'm gonna hurt you. And he did it in front of a crowd of people, but he didn't do anything. So that wasn't deemed assault in this case, just to kind of sum up what they're about to say. And that's what she's trying to say, what happens with allegedly Schemo being on the internet, saying it in front of the whole internet. It's parallel to that. So we're gonna see what the judge got to say, because obviously Cardi B lawyer Tasha K lawyer ain't got shit to say. Yeah, disappointing.
And in that there was a crowd of people, and this gentleman walked kind of towards the car. I think it was a picket line or something. He kind of walked towards this car that people were in, and he was a few feet from the car. He didn't have a weapon, but he pointed at them and said, "We're going to get you." Okay. And the court said there was no physical weapon. He didn't come any closer to the car. He was several feet away, and, at worst that would have it was not a fear of an immediate injury, or that his act or, his actual words would cause a reasonable person to fear immediate injury. Maybe it would cause them to apprehend some fear in the future, but that wasn't enough to constitute assault. So, no, I don't think, to answer your question, I don't think that even if that was the allegation that this Schemo person allegedly said, I don't think that would be enough. I think that most of the cases where there is words only will find assault are coupled with facts that show that the person could actually accomplish those words right then.
Now, all of this right here is I think. No one is bringing up the actual words that Schemo said. And this is when Tasha K lawyer is supposed to say, where he said this according to this on this date. Sir, you didn't see this, I can submit this. Nothing. Oh my God. Moving forward.
But they were physically right there, right? They could have accomplished that threat at that moment. So either a physical presence or something else that would allow you as the judge who's deciding this claim to want to believe that someone could reasonably infer an immediate injury. So I don't think mere words are enough. I think it has to be either coupled with some other physical threat or some other thing that allows you to believe that they could accomplish that. And here, again, none of those facts are pled.
See, and she said, wait. She said, and none of those facts was pled. What Tasha K lawyer should have said in the pleading, and it seems like if that paperwork is right, I mean, she should have said that, she felt harm for her life because this gang member has a rap sheet of this type of assaults and battery, gang relation, and shows some type of direct connection between Cardi B and this person, which is right in the video that I showed you. But I don't know what they allowed in the court, and so let's keep it moving.
Not only do we not know the content of the messages, that's problem no one, and problem number 2 is there's no facts alleged that my client had any responsibility for these messages or, posted them. So that's where it's missing. Where is the actual facts that Cardi B has something to say to this gentleman? And it's not for Tasha K to know all of this. I'm just going to keep it real. It's actually her lawyers to know this. Her lawyers filed these damn papers knowing that this is all allegations and you need to come with some damn facts. So if you're going to say specifically, Schemo threatened me on the internet, I know that it was connected to Cardi B because they had a conversation that somebody else witnessed. Who is that third party? Now, they said it's a third party witness in that paper that we just showed you that was up from the vlogger, but we don't know if that was submissible in court. Was that person going to come in? What did they just want to put in a statement? Because sometimes a judge wouldn't take a statement from a witness. They want that witness to come in. Now, if you have a witness that's going to testify against gang members, that ain't happening. It's not happening. Snitches get stitches in the damn streets, and they are not going to do that. So that was very hard to ask for if it was an actual person that
made Miss Tasha K aware of it, that wouldn't have been like, where's the proof? You know what I'm saying? And sometimes if you show it, like, okay, somebody inboxed me with all this information and said this and the third, and this is when I want to let you guys bloggers know, you can't always take inboxes from accounts and think that they are valid. You really have to do your research. These things are not submissible in court. So if you be like, well, I got an inbox that said all of this stuff about this person, is that was their cousin, and you didn't do no research and it ended up being wrong, and that means that you were not only spreading wrong information, but this is a reason why like messages is not readily accepted into court as primary evidence unless there is some tracking or database tracking with that to validify that, hey, this actual message came from this IP address or this phone that is directly connected to this party. This is why in the YSL case, you had them have a telecommunication expert there to validify some of the evidence or most of the evidence that is bringing forth by the actual state. Because the state is saying in the YSL case, oh, we got all these phone things, this, that, and the third. And everybody know technology can be enhanced, manipulated, and all types of stuff. So this is what she's saying right here is, where's your proof? And your proof better not be able to be something that is non-tangible or could be questioned. Okay, so this is the court response.
The court, wasn't there some allegation, though, also that, and this may have been just under information and belief, but that Sciammo and the plaintiff schemed or strategized about how to get back at the defendant for the statements that she had made? MS Matz, I think that there's an allegation that says that my client, the allegation, I believe, is that my client published a conversation that they were gathering information on her, which, again, gathering information on somebody isn't a threat to someone's physical harm whatsoever.
Yes, that is.
You know, so that's my recollection of what they. 1, 2, 3, 4,
Listen.
5, 6, 7. The court. Does the complaint allege that Sciammo is a gang member? MS Matz, well, it's a little unclear because there's an allegation that says as a direct result of Cardi B and her fellow gang members' threats.
How is it? I just showed you the mother up there throwing up gang signs. How is it a question? How is it a question? And it's not easy to get out of a gang. I'm just gonna keep it real. I'm from Newark. I already know it's not easy to get out of a gang, baby. A lot of people don't survive getting out of a gang, but let's just move forward.
MS Matz, well, it's a little unclear because there's an allegation that says as a direct result of Cardi B and her fellow gang members' threats. But, again, there's not specific reference
no
to
specifics.
The court. Sciammo. MS Matz, yeah. And there's also no specific reference to my client making a threat. So I'm not sure what the court. So your client making a threat? MS Matz, except for they made an allegation that my client said I'm going to sue you, which my client did sue her, but that's not, you know, that's not the threat they're talking about with reference to the assault claim. But, you know, that's the threat that's alleged that my client made. The court. So there's no question there's problems in the way that this assault claim and particularly the intentional infliction claim pled as far as what the plaintiff did, what Sciammo did or alleged. But, generally speaking, would you agree with the proposition that if a person induced another person to make a threat that could be reasonably interpreted to be a physical threat, that would constitute facts sufficient to support a claim for intentional infliction of emotional stress under Georgia law? I know I'm asking.
This is, hold up, this is the person that's talking. This is Miss Matz is still talking.
I know I'm asking you to jump over a lot of hoops here, and I'm also asking you to take that out of context for this specific case. Georgia follows what's called party to the crime theory, which is like aiding and abetting, and you don't have to actually do the act to be guilty of the crime. You just have to play a part in it.
Yep.
And if you encourage another person to commit a crime, then you're just as guilty under Georgia criminal law as the person who commits the crime for the full extent. So, you know, under that framework it seems that if you were to induce someone to make a threat that reasonably could be interpreted to be a physical threat against someone, that could support a claim of intentional infliction of emotional distress.
So basically, what she's admitting is that it can inflict emotional distress on a person if they're being threatened by a third party that's being pushed by someone. Now you clearly know if you live in the state of Georgia and you don't go beat up somebody, but you push somebody to beat somebody else up, you could be charged with that too. Period. Point blank, period. Okay. They already said it. So let's go into what she's saying. But her reason for not going with this is on other terms as well. Because once she lose one argument, she's gonna move on to the next one.
MS Mats. So the only reason I'm going to say I'm not sure I agree with you is this, that I think that, there could be other torts that might fall under also. But part of the thing here is the degree of, that it has to be either intentional or reckless. It has to be extreme or outrageous, and there has to be a causal connection. So I guess that just assumes a lot of things about what the court, well, it does away with the causal connection. It does away with the intentional thing. The question is the extreme part. It seems to me that if the physical threat is one of death, again we are making some assumptions here. But, look, I'm very familiar with intentional infliction of emotional distress. I've been a lawyer in Georgia a long time. I was a trial judge in the state system, and there are not a lot of cases that succeed under this tort. Very rare.
Yo, she had a fucking trial judge as her lawyer. Did y'all hear that? Yo, she came in swinging. All I'm going to have to say, I'm going to have to give Cardi B. I think Cardi B definitely won this round. Okay? Now, we're going to conclude to how Tasha K is catching a technical knockout. But when it comes blow for blow, Tasha K getting blow for blow here because her lawyers is not even coming in the game correctly. And this lady got a whole fucking, did you hear what she said? She used to be a trial judge. Oh my God. Black people, when you hire somebody to be your lawyer, you better do a background check and know what they could do. This was destined. Not only was she a trial judge, she had to know this judge. They had to have some connection. Oh, that makes some sense. This person was a trial judge. Oh, okay. Really stands out to me. It really stands out to me.
But,
listen.
Look, I'm very familiar with intentional infliction of emotional distress. I've been a lawyer in Georgia a long time.
Oh.
I was a trial judge in the state system, and there are not a lot of cases that succeed under this tort. Very rare. But it would seem like the perfect place for the case to succeed is if you induce someone to threaten to kill somebody. That's sort of what's alleged here, kind of. That's the way that the defendant argues it at least, and I don't think it's specific enough. I agree with you on that point. But if there were facts that the plaintiff induced someone to threaten someone that reasonably could be interpreted to be a threat against that person's life, seems like that would establish an intentional infliction. MS. Mats, so the thing I was going to say, you said something interesting. You said I think that does away with the causation. The thing I was going to say is I'm not sure that it does, and the reason I'm not sure is this, Your Honor, I think it depends on, what that conversation was, right? If I say to you, hey, tell her that we're going to expose the reason she's lying, right? This is purely hypothetical, and then you go out and do something that threatens to kill someone, right? Then that is then. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm not sure there is a causal connection, right, between what person A thought that they were inducing and what person B actually.
Oh, so now she's trying to establish basically, even if allegedly she's trying to say even if Cardi B had a conversation with this gentleman, it can be the gentleman interpretation of the situation that caused him to enhancedly go to try to threaten her, not specifically because people are manipulative. And they always say certain things in a manner to suggest certain things but not say, especially if you're a celebrity. So this is what she's kind of saying. Okay, this is actually Cardi B's lawyer. And this makes sense to me now. I'm like, why is there so much dialogue between Cardi B's lawyer and the courts as though they're just briefing the case? They're just briefing facts. And then you don't have no objection, no anything from Tasha K's lawyers because they don't know the law. Oh.
The court. But if the hypothetical is I want you to go threaten to kill her and make her back off, and then the person goes out and does threaten to kill someone or uses language that is reasonably interpreted to convey a threat to your safety, then it sounds like that would be an intentional infliction claim. In fact, Georgia law does support intentional infliction claims if you threaten to disclose private facts about someone. MS Mats, yeah. The court. Someone's sexuality or things like that that's not generally known, that can support a claim as well. MS Mats, yeah, as is the tort of the false light would also those two areas of torts intersect, I'll say, that could be actionable under one or both of them depending on whether it was actually threatened. But here the issue is that I didn't get from their argument that they were saying anyone was threatening to kill her. I have no idea what they're saying was said because all that the messages are described as is violent.
No details. Again.
Argument that they were saying, and all of these cases hinge so much on the specific facts of what's happened, both in the context of, could the statement reasonably be interpreted that way, and also, what did the person actually do? And this is getting back to an assault. What did they say plus what did they do plus what situation were you in to decide?
Now this is the court.
Who the person was that said it matters too, if it's a Boy Scout who says it, meaning there's something different than if it really is a gang member.
Thank you.
For example, Skiamo was known to the defendant to be a gang member, and he made some kind of threat that could be interpreted multiple ways. MS Mats, again, I don't think that the defendant has to the extent she's made any allegations about Skiamo. I believe they're upon information and belief. I don't think she's saying that she knew him to be one way or the other, at least that's not my reading of the pleadings. And, again, there is so little facts that get into what was said,
So basically what she's saying is that she didn't indicate that Schemo was really a gang member, but she did say that, Cardi B was. She didn't really highlight specifically what this gang member, how he was, or the proof behind it, and what he said specifically. So let's go into the pleading standards. Very clearly says that just conclusionary language, just mimicking a language of statute, that's not enough. You have to unlock the doors of discovery. You just have to come with the facts that makes the allegation plausible. And what makes it not plausible. That's not plausible for us to even talk about it without both of us saying that we're going to have to assume that it was X, Y, A, Z, and would disqualify. So basically she's saying she did not provide any facts of this is why, this is that, he's a gang member because of this. This is why I felt this way, and these were the texts that I received, okay? So we're on page 31 of 63. I'm trying to get down just a little bit. We're really into this. This is a lot. It's a lot. We're about almost 1 hour and 37 minutes into this. And I said we're going to do probably like a 2-hour broadcast. So we're going to get a little bit more into it. We're going to stop around 11 o'clock. So we're hoping that we could get through a little bit more. But what we have highlighted was the two motions that Tasha K counterclaim against Cardi B, and the arguments that the lawyers set forth, and how they're pretty much going back and forth with just the judge. And I don't see actually Tasha K lawyers saying much. Okay. So now the courts.
The court. So you agree that if the claims are dismissed on this basis, they're dismissed without prejudice since there's no merit decision made at this point? MS Mats, I think you would have the authority to dismiss with prejudice, but I understand that might not be what the court. Isn't that generally, though? Generally, if a motion to dismiss is granted based on what wasn't pled, then it's not a decision on the merits.
Exactly. So basically what the judge is about to say, okay, we will dismiss this based on the way that everything is written up in your arguments. But if it's going to be dismissed, do you think it should be dismissed with prejudice, meaning that the person can come back and actually bring this back up into the court a better way? Okay, Tasha K, if you're listening, Helga, could have brung this back up a better way. It says with prejudice or without prejudice. Okay, so when it's without prejudice, that means that you can't come back and file it again. And that's why she said, well, generally the case sometimes okay, so this is what the Miss McKenzie say. I think the court, I think you will have the authority to dismiss with prejudice, but understanding that that might not be what. Let's go.
MS Mats, I think the court, I think you would have the authority to dismiss with prejudice, but I understand that that might not be what the court.
See?
Isn't that generally, though? Generally, if a motion to dismiss is granted based on what wasn't pled, then it's not a decision on the merits? MS Mats, yes. Generally that is the case, although sometimes when there's been multiple opportunities, it can be with prejudice.
So basically they're saying if they're giving you multiple opportunities to plead your damn case and you ain't saying anything, we could dismiss this with prejudice. And that's what they're trying to say. Okay?
And then the last thing I will just say is that Ms. Keevy has asserted a separate claim for punitive damages here. The court, there's no such claim. It's got to be derivative of an intentional tort. MS Mats, absolutely, Your Honor, and here and I.
So basically
Basically
with Tasha K's filing, she didn't put a claim of an amount. She wanted back. She didn't prove none of the damages of her having to move or anything like that. This is what I'm hearing. So let's just go into it. Because if she says she had to move and this, that, and third, you got to prove this. You can't just be talking. Bloggers, you can't just be talking. You got, especially when they bring you to court. I know this is a life lesson for her. Okay, especially you guys too. Go ahead and keep on running your mouth and think that y'all ain't gonna have to prove it.
MS Mats, absolutely, Your Honor, and here and I. But the first point I'd like to make is that she has not pled that she sent a demand for retraction and removal of any statements, which is
and that's the next thing. What they ask in court proceedings, what have you done to try to mitigate this before you made a claim? So they're looking for the same thing for Tasha K. What have you mitigated? The first thing is a cease and desist, or the first thing is to say that you have sent threatening messages to my client. Please be informed that we understand that you are directing schemo, da 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 da. And then they would apply like we have nothing to do with that, da da da. And then they're supposed to say, well, we have proof, da 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 da. And then they could take him to court. Okay, but that's not what happened.
The court, and that does relate to paragraph 238 of her counterclaim to the points of slander and defamation. But there would be no demand for a retraction needed for assault and intentional infliction if those were valid torts that have been alleged. If you commit the tort, you can be responsible for punitive damages because they're both intentional torts. Right?
So she's basically saying you could have asked for some money based on the intentional punitive damage that's related to an intentional tort, which is threatening someone.
MS Mats, well, you can be, although you are supposed to, in order to get punitive in those instances, show willfulness conduct, malice, fraud. And one of the points we made in our motion was that, again, there's been no facts. All they did here was kind of mimic a statute. There's been no facts alleged. And, their response to this in the motion was, well, that's a matter for proof. But it also should be pled. Okay. And, one of the issues here is that, I think that the assault and the intentional infliction of emotional distress claims are pretty problematic. And I don't think that, I think also the slander per se claim should be dismissed for the reasons we talked about. But even if you were to decide that it survives, the punitive damages claim absolutely should not. And we shouldn't be going through discovery with the defendant having some expectation of punitive damages when she cannot.
See, I knew it.
She did not send the statute.
I was right, y'all. That lady named this one?
The court. I'm sorry. And what is your name, ma'am? MS Ismailova. Olga Ismailova.
See, it is Olga. That was Olga that said something that one damn time. And what she said would sound like it was against her client. Because I got confused and thought, I said, that had to be Cardi B lawyer that said it. But it wasn't. It was Olga. that argument that I have misconstrued. I said, is that Olga? She finally talking at one time, and but the way she was talking, it sounded like she was on Cardi B side. Okay, wait a fucking minute. That is Olga. What page is this? We on 34. Let me just, y'all gonna kill me. I need to go back up to what Olga said at the beginning, because Olga said one damn thing here this whole damn time. Let's just go back to Olga. She really did say that, guys. So I'm gonna have to, because I thought it was Olga. I know I ain't crazy. Girl, this whole damn thing, we on page 23, 34. Olga said not a damn thing. But one time, we're going to find out if I listen to what Miss Olga said again. And I assessed Miss Olga saying that long statement. I really thought that was Cardi B lawyer. Oh, my God. That's why I'm like, yo, did Olga work for Tasha K? Okay. Now, this is Miss Olga. And this is when they were talking about lies and what that means. And Olga gets in.
MS is Mayleva, yes. And I do think there's a distinction, in a lot of the cases that we have cited to talk about that distinction, because the way at least the cases in Georgia have interpreted that is that one statement, even though, yes, of course the person is going to say, well, you know. Me being called a liar in this one instance, other people could believe I might be lying in other instances. That's absolutely something that person would claim. What the law is saying and what a lot of the cases are saying is, but that's not slander per se, because that person isn't saying that in all instances you're going to lie. That person isn't saying that, you know, because you lied in this one instance that you are lying everywhere else in their life. They're just saying you didn't tell the truth in this one instance. That's what the cases say. And I think that the allegations they've made are even more specific than, well, they're more specific than just saying she's a liar, right? And they were specific to the story that was told about my client. Any of the alleged statements were talking about that, and that's how they have alleged it. So I don't think that it can qualify for slander per se. And, you know, just getting back to the actual malice case, you know, if someone knows they're not telling a truth, I can see where Your Honor is saying that should be just 1, 2, 3, 4,
Oh my
5, 6,
God.
7, kind of implied. But when you are a limited purpose public figure, the standard is higher. The standard of proof is higher, and the standard of pleading is higher. And, you know, courts don't typically, at least in the federal cases that we cited in our brief, don't typically presume actual malice. They want to see that, because actual malice isn't just, you know, that you either had to have known you were lying in that moment, and there has to.
All right, y'all heard all of that. Now, either it's a typo, and that is actually Cardi B's lawyer saying this. This can't be Olga saying that, because what she have said didn't even help Tasha K not one damn bit. What she said did not help Tasha K not one damn bit. That's why I'm confused. Like, wait a minute. We now got to page 34 of this. We had to get into an hour and a half to even get a conclusive word from Olga. What the hell? Now, she only came in one time, and she never said I object. Y'all know I like that word. I object, Your Honor. I object. All right, let's go back to 34, where we actually have Miss Olga saying something. Olga.
The court, I'm sorry. And what is your name, ma'am? MS is Mayleva. Olga is Mayleva.
Oh my God.
The court, okay. Thank you. Go ahead. MS is Mayleva, so I'm going to address the standard of review first, because I think it determines the lens with which we look at plaintiff's arguments.
All right, we're going to stop right there on page 34. I think that we got pretty far. What we heard was the first arguments for dismissal of Tasha K motion against, or counterclaim against, actual Cardi B's defamation case. And what Tasha K was trying to do was prove intentional emotional abuse, something like that. I'm saying it wrong because I'm getting tired. We've been up here for almost 2 hours, as well as defamation and slander. So you have Tasha K, well, Cardi B's lawyer, going in about the standards of what actually applies to that law and dissecting the actual filing that was filed by Tasha K's lawyers, which seems very incomplete, not substantial to cover all of the elements to prove your case, which is the actual problem. What was your losses, and what's the damages that you want, and most importantly, how much you lost and what you want to get back. And this is some of the things that she actually did not do, and that's what actually caused a problem for Tasha K. Okay, so while we're getting to the end of our broadcast, I want to say thank you so much for being here with Grace Levi. We're going to be coming back at next week. We're going to do this once a week. This is something that nobody else is doing. This is only certain people can really take the time to understand case law and try to make it make sense. The reason why I'm doing this is because, one, I do think there's some things in this case that has been held from the general public. Two, I definitely know most bloggers who reported on this was biased and hated Tasha K. Three, the lawyer really fucked up. Now we're going to show you a terrible case of lawyerism. I done made that word up. And I ain't never in my life seen something like this. I don't care if it's just motions being read. The worst thing you can say is object. Olga ass was quiet. We went to all the way to page 34. And I'm telling you, I was confused because what she said in the beginning, when she made a statement, it sounded like she was Cardi B lawyer. And I was confused. So this round right here, I'm going to have to say, because this round not finished yet, because we still got 30 more pages. But it looks like Cardi B is getting the upper hand here. And it's like, boop, boop, boop. You done sent some stuff over here. You just throwing this paper. Get up out of here. Get up out of here. Your shit ain't even making no damn sense. So all I'm going to say is, people, we got a lot more to go. Tomorrow I'm going to be live. We're going to be doing uncensored hot topics because we didn't get to go live yesterday because of the blackout. So we do have a lot to talk about, as well as I think I want to go live on Wednesday too, because I got a lot to catch up on. I want to say I love you guys. I appreciate you being here with Grace Levi. I hope y'all enjoyed it. I mean, it's kind of dry for the people who don't have attention span, got attention span like a flea, or, just emotionally liable. But it's okay, baby. One day you'll catch up. You'll really understand the significance of understanding the law and how it really applies. Because one day it'll be your ass. Instead of you being in the comment talking about, yeah, I hate her. F that D. I hope she be in jail. Oh, wait a minute. Before we go, I got to. Oh, my God. This has been the funniest shit I've seen in a long time. And I got to play this. I'm going to say this right here, this right here, this right here, this may time. This right here, I got to show. Okay. Let me just move this. This is why Cardi B is doing this right now. Okay. This is why Cardi B is doing this right now towards Tasha K. Because Tasha K on shit like this. She said, you gonna fuck with me? I'm gonna fuck with you. Now, this little smart young lady done said this crazy shit. It is so funny. Let's go, Tasha. I got to give it to you. You know how to troll a motherfucker.
So for this bitch to talk about, oh, wasn't you this and that? Yeah, bitch, I'm gonna be protected all the time. And for you to try to use that shit over this billionaire shit, trying to be fucking funny. You trying to be out here funny, talking about you bankrupt. Bitch, you're gonna jail. Yep, you're gonna jail. Yeah, you're gonna jail. You're gonna jail. Yep, you're gonna jail. Yeah, you're gonna jail. Yeah, bitch, you embezzling. Yeah, bitch, you embezzling. Yeah, bitch, you embezzling, bitch. Yeah, bitch, you embezzling. Yeah, bitch, you embezzling. Yeah, bitch, you embezzling, bitch. You're gonna jail. Yep, you're gonna jail. Yeah, you're gonna jail.
Yo, this is
You're
the funniest shit
I've
ever in my life.
Yeah,
I don't care. I'm gonna say it. Tasha K know how to hit a bitch when she angry. And she knows that Cardi B is an aggy ass chick. And Cardi B, you can't tell anybody they going to jail for embezzling when they know drugs involved, okay? She ain't selling no damn drugs. It's called making business moves, and you just mad that your lawyers took all that damn money from you, and you still ain't got no money. Because what she say, bitch, I ain't got it. But guess what? I gotta go.
Answer. Because you are that, you are capable. You are gifted, and you are so unique. All of the things that you may hate about yourself are your strengths. It's okay to be soft. It's okay to be opinionated. It's okay to be different. And it's so okay to just love you. The world awaits to receive you.